Hello, marhaba, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Geraldine Price. I'm the VP of the UK, Middle East and Africa here at McAfee. And today we're going to talk about smarter cities and how they will require smarter security. We all know the only constant is change, but in 2020 with COVID, we have seen a rate of change that has been fast but also enduring. It's not only changing business and how we work, but it's also impacting how societies now need to live their lives. As we look at this in the context of cybersecurity, individuals need to understand that cybersecurity is more than just counting malwares. It's how it's seen today. We talk about the adoption of smart cities, but the reality is our dependence on technology and the reliance and demand for having cybersecurity at the heart of all of that has been happening for years, but now we need to evolve quicker and faster than ever. Time is of the essence. Actually, I would argue as well that the adoption is not quite working yet. In this BBC article, an NHS employee talks about WannaCry, in which he comments on a tragic situation. 2 stroke centres in London had to effectively turn away patients. So when we talk about smart cities and we talk about the need for cybersecurity, it should not be something that we just look at for the future. It's here today and there is challenges that we need to address. And those challenges need to be addressed with urgency because lives literally are at risk. So let's look at some of those challenges. The perimeter, for example, which for a long time has been slowly eroding, disappeared without trace, when suddenly 90% of employees were forced to work from home. Our cyber adversaries moved fast to attack new infrastructure with new approaches. So, for example, many of us are acutely aware of how spear phishing increased at a tremendous rate, with COVID-19 related themes at the forefront. And that level of mobile attacks skyrocketed throughout March. Just look at that spike in the chart as the pandemic took hold. And of course, it's not just business, it's not just healthcare, it's looking at emerging opportunities within the MENA region. The one thing that's going to impact opportunity and economic growth is going to be the impact that cybercrime has. So this visual is actually taken from a report that we published together with the CSIS, which evaluates the impact of GDP on cybercrimes and what the impact is on individual countries. Actually, and ironically, you'll see Saudi Arabia is 0.17% and UAE is at 0.11%. In the same way, you can just imagine similar numbers in Bahrain and Egypt and Kuwait, as well as other countries in MENA region. Now, the only reason why it's low is because it's just not measured as effectively as in countries like Germany. So that micro environment of cybersecurity is bigger. Every week, McAfee publishes global threats. And what you see here are those top global campaigns going off to nations all around the world. This slide shows specific threats with COVID campaigns. This particular campaign is with a network of ransomware, and it's targeting the UAE as well as 40 other countries. And so understanding that, learning from that is going to be critical. These challenges and these impacts go much deeper still within our societies. You look at things like the presidential elections, and here it suggests that their impact on integrity, where elections have actually been influenced. So the position that we take today in that cybersecurity is an IT issue, but yet the reality of those impacts are much bigger and broader in our infrastructure, our economies, and our societies. We have at McAfee a threat research division purely dedicated and focused on threat intelligence. So in terms of those individuals wishing to do harm, in terms of those individuals wishing to cause damage to our very nations, it's not just stemming from those countries that we know of, but actually the reality is you've got an entire industry looking to do offensive cyber, dedicated and focused. You've got an entire industry of adversaries with no morals about taking down infrastructure, no morals about taking down our hotels. Even our baby monitors are being hacked. This is personal. So it's everyone's responsibility to have that broader view of how we look at threats today and where it is today. And it's not just those typical devices like laptops and mobile phones. We've got to recognise in the future we're going to be having all manner of equipment. Organisations that are developing IoT need the equipment that will be used within our smart cities to adapt to an open approach with regards to vulnerabilities. We have a vulnerability research team who work with and identify vulnerabilities in everything from cars, ATM machines, consumer IoT equipment, and even outer space. So for example, there's an exciting announcement coming out soon from our ATR team around satellite security. But now we look at how do we future-proof, and that's a whole matter, another matter entirely. And it's the future-proof elements that we simply have to get right. If we're going to truly move from cyber resistance to cyber resilience to a more adaptable mindset, capable of accepting that, well, yes, problems will occur, but we need to enable the capabilities that will identify, rectify, and recover quickly from those problems. So how does a pandemic that, quite frankly, many of us were unprepared for, relate to the future that is planned for the MENA region? Well, smart cities in particular are going to force a massive level of change. We can plan and prepare, but critically, our adversaries will be looking to the introduction of these new technologies as an opportunity to attack. And to this, the exponential increase in the connected devices, it all becomes clear that the types of solution we've relied on in the past simply aren't going to scale to the kingdom needs, for example, and nor to our advanced future. We're going to need smart security. We're going to need it deployed extensively across a massive number of devices and a very wide range of devices. And they're going to be running all sorts of operating systems and applications. However, we're going to need to ensure that it works together, seamlessly, exchanges information without breaking down, and is flexible enough to accommodate whatever that rate of change happens to be in 2030. So now is the time, now is the perfect time to be asking yourself, how prepared are you? How prepared are you to defend against 2, 3, 4 times as many attacks as you face today? Can your existing solutions scale up to 4 times as many devices as you protect today? And will you have a proportionally larger budget in the next 10 years? Speaking to many CISOs, I suspect the answer to many of these questions will be no. So what should you do? Shift left and be proactive, not reactive. Shifting left not only reduces the potential impact of an attack, but it also allows us to deal with a far greater number of attacks with the same level of resource. And if the number of attacks is increasing faster than our resources are, I'm not really sure we've got much of an alternative. So how do you shift left? Well, it's not an easy thing to do, and we know that. And it's a highly dependent issue, that shifting left relies on is seeing the future. If you could do that, if you were able to understand what might be about to hit your environment, whether you could potentially be vulnerable to that activity, and what you might need to do to change in order to mitigate all of this ahead of time, you need to know these. The mitigation of vulnerabilities that could be exploited when a campaign hits you should be complete before the campaign impacts you. Sounds impossible, you say? Well, there is a solution. There's a huge amount of threat intelligence out there, and quality is what you need. At McAfee alone, we have more than 1 billion threat sensors operating all at once. This is feeding a whole data lake that powers our global threat intelligence platform, which we can mine and interrogate to gather critical clues, such as exactly to What active campaigns are operational at any one time? Or what industries are being most affected and how are they being effective? Even what geographies or cities are most at risk, and so on. Many companies have threat intelligence feeding their products. And then there are TIPs, threat intelligence platforms, which are solutions in their own right. These are designed to support you in gathering this critical data. But then it's not just about gathering the data that's crucial, but who's going to be analysing it? What's the most important thing to consider, for example? So data alone isn't going to help you. What you need is actionable insights, not a million potentials, but a prioritised list of, say, 10 or 20 things that you actually need to focus on, and ideally with some set of instructions of how to address the list. And if you think you need that now, well, imagine how badly things are going to be, when we hit the rest of the smart cities and they're really starting to go online. So let me put you in perspective here, and let me go back in steps here. When smart utilities are installed in every smart building, supporting people with potentially, carrying, say, 10 or 20 devices, monitoring every aspect of their lives, such as smart health or smart education, transportation, all of these things being interconnected, exchanging data, generating data, how will it be interpreted? Now that's leading to concerns that we all have. With our current solutions, it would be mayhem. So there are things that you can do today that will not only help the present, but will future-proof you exactly against this high-octane, risk-fueled future. So we need to take action now to be proactive and ask yourselves, are you identifying what threats your industry is currently exposed to? Do you know the type of techniques that those threats are demonstrating? And if so, are those proactive measures that you've put into place to address these ahead of time? How can you take those actionable insights, and I note I haven't said threat intelligence here, and apply them to your own specific and unique environment? So let me paint a picture here. You hear about threat that leverages Windows 10 vulnerability, and you know which versions of your endpoint security can identify it, and by extensions, which cannot. Can you identify all the Windows 10 machines currently running the older endpoint security suite and have a pre-execution machine learning scanning switch on and which don't? Can you automatically and instantly upgrade the configurations of those machines to ensure that the new risk that you've just been notified about is immediately neutralized? And if not, why not? Because that capability already exists today, 10 years ahead of the smartest city implementation being planned to be delivered. So whatever solutions we implement from whatever vendors we choose, it's really important that we're not locked into a single path that might turn out to be wrong. There's no doubt in my mind that we're going to need more automation going forward to achieve what we're going to need to from a security platform, and not just piece part solutions, so that you can apply automation without breaking it. So in summary, you are developing, engineering and planning now for your future revolutionary cities. Cybersecurity will be the foundation at the heart by which the individuals will live, that they will breathe, individuals will eat, and it's paramount to any planning for the city. We must address the threats. It's not only about threat intelligence. Actionable insights here need to be done in collaboration with a strong culture of cybersecurity, where you're working with threat security researchers, cybersecurity industry to identify vulnerabilities as they come out and as they target others. Because the reality about security adversaries is that they are always moving. And so it's critical that you are making sure you've got security at the heart of what you're doing. So with the fast and enduring rate of change and the fact that we need to evolve faster and quicker than ever, time really is of the essence. Thank you very much for your time. I will be at the McAfee booth along with some of our experts, and I would love to speak to you.